Great.
Okay,
Let's
so
move along to E.
6E, report on speed surveys, 1100 Keywood Boulevard, 100 Pomona, and 1000 Peralta. And you have the reports. The two 1100 Keywood Boulevard and 800 Pomona actually do not show consistent speeding. And the only one that showed 31 miles per hour at 85th percentile is the 1000 block of Peralta. I've been communicating with residents, Bill Cooper and Alan Eckner. We are the bicycle proposals on Peralta Avenue actually should address some of the speeding issue. Also, there's some ideas for the reconfiguration of the intersection of Peralta and Posen, and that actually will help because a high visibility crosswalk would be added there. It's possible that we extend the contract with Fair & Pierce and ask them to design the intersection. I don't want to give high hopes, but we don't have money for the construction of whatever they propose. What they're proposing is actually make it a little bit straight. So close one leg of that intersection and actually make it straight, like a 90-degree, more or less like a 90-degree intersection.
I hear we have some temporary orange barriers that might be free in a couple months.
We can do that too. So, and the idea is that basically just the westbound direction, make it a little bit wider, and that's going to be the intersection. So, and a crosswalk would be there for pedestrians, and that its hope is, well, for sure that the traffic will actually, the speeds will decrease, the traffic. So the next CIP is a promise to actually include money for all of these additional projects, and it seems to me that we're taking care of the major projects right now, and the striping and signage for the bicycle network. More than half might be implemented by the next CIP, so it's going to be a good CIP, I hope. So with that's my report.
I'm sorry, I'm getting a little confused. So the Peralta, 1000 block of Peralta is eligible for attention.
The 85th percentile is 31 miles per hour, which is over our threshold of 30 miles per hour.
But there's no money to do anything right now, or
to build anything right now. So there's going to be a design, hopefully a design by Fair & Pierce. This particular design of the intersection with Posen is not included in scope of work. If we want them to design, to engineer the intersection, it would have to be an extension or an amendment to the contract.
Right, but then there's other things that could be done in that.
Yeah,
and how do we get to that step?
Okay, with this ATP striping and signage project, we're going to put a bicycle lane on the uphill direction and sharrows on the downhill direction. So that actually will narrow the
traffic lanes.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm falling asleep. The traffic lanes, and will hopefully reduce the speed. I mean, it's proven that the narrower lanes reduce speed.
But that isn't really going to happen in the foreseeable future either, right? I mean, we still have to go through.
We do have money. It's on the CIP to implement the striping and signage projects here.
And those are the first of the ATP projects.
The first of the ATP projects.
So what would be the schedule to implement any of those?
Well, if we finished the approval of the plans by the summer of 2014, then it's a matter of getting 3 quotes, and first of all, we have to know which streets are in good shape to actually do thermoplastic and get a contractor to do the thermoplastic only. Then we have to see if the other ones that are in bad shape we can actually do water-based paint. So it's just basically temporary. But in any case, it would be whatever we do on Peralta would actually influence the speed of the traffic there.
But Peggy, in terms of your question, so it would have to be in next fiscal year's budget allocated to
We-
do that CIP items?
No,
or
we already have
So you already
money.
have money set
Yeah,
aside to
uh-huh.
do these?
But what I want to clarify is that, okay, so we have all of these projects, but some of them will be implemented first, the other ones later, because of this, the situation of the pavement, the
Okay.
condition of the pavement.
Well, I understand that. I'm just, because that's in the quadrant of town that I live in, and so I see a lot of chatter on Nextdoor and some of those about people being really interested. But so it'd be interesting to be able to say to them, yes, you're on the list and your number might come up next fall, or I don't want people to have false expectations.
Right.
That,
Well,
because they met the threshold that something's
and
going to
right
happen
now,
soon.
without having the pavement management program, I cannot give you an exact date. And without having the 35% and the reaction of the public, we can actually say that we finished this project, all of this, the design of the ATP striping signage by the summer of 2014. And then we can start actually implementing them. With this CIP, we do have money for the projects. There is, hopefully we get the signage, the wayfinding, so we get some money for signs, but also there is some money for signs, if we can just do that. So there is, the capacity, it depends on how much. I don't know how much exactly the striping and signage will be, but there is capacity to build some of the projects, and some will have priority over others. So that's something that we have to decide here with the public and you guys. So I think it's too early in the process, but they actually, as I said, with the bicycle lane, we're narrowing the lanes there, and we're decreasing the speeds. With the intersection improvements, we can do the same thing that I'm thinking that we should do by Gateview in Washington, which is basically striping in hash markings and then pavement markers. We can do that. As John said, we can actually have some barriers that actually,
The pavement on Peralta looks pretty good, at least on Google Street View. Don't know how old it is, but it looks pretty good.
But it seems to me that Bill Cooper and Alan are talking to the neighbors, and they will be very supportive of any of these. So there's not going to be any. The only I can tell because I was there when we were actually trying to talk about the crosswalk is the resident, I don't want to say, is the resident who lives by the intersection of Post and Peralta, who actually was concerned about losing her parking space in front of her house. And that's going to be an issue for the crosswalk. But other than that, I think the majority of the residents govern the decision, unfortunately, or fortunately.
Okay.
So we already heard about F, and